Hey everyone, Old School from WhatTheBuck.net coming to you live from Buccaneers training camp. I'm up in the Stadium Club section of the stands. Figured we'd have a little bit less interruption here. You know, day after a late game, it was oppressively hot today, I have to admit. Coach Koetter said in the post presser that things were a little bit sluggish. To be honest, from the outside looking in, it didn't look that bad. The energy level was good. Kept a few guys out for precautionary measures, which made some shuffling on the offensive line. Benenoch was out, Benenoch and Pamphile was out. Leckie was over at right tackle, Evan Smith at left guard in the ones, and then they rotated from there. In general, I thought it was a decent practice. I thought the energy level was good. The guys were running around. I heard someone say that McCoy went in potentially for water or IV hydration because he was out here in freaking sweatpants. I don't know how these guys do it, to be honest. But when you look at the way the practice went down, I thought that the offensive line did a good job against the defensive line. When there was contact and thud, running backs all looked pretty good today. I saw some McNichols flashes today. I know a lot of you guys are big McNichols guys, McWeapon guys. He showed some of that. Coach came out at the press conference and said that he looks like a rookie. He looks like Peyton Barber looked last year, and Peyton Barber looks like a guy who's got a year under his belt. That's exactly what you'd expect out of these guys. One of the questions was asked by Steve Isbitz of Joe Bucs Fan if the fact that Doug Martin will be out for the first 3 games, will that affect the roster stack rank coming into the 3rd game of the preseason? And it will. It's a good question. It's a fair question. But Dirk did mention that he doesn't like the idea of a dress rehearsal. On the offensive side of the ball, for the negatives, I thought the tight ends, and I tweeted this, I thought the tight ends had a particularly bad day today with the exception of Cam Brate. There were a number of drops I wouldn't expect from everyone from O.J. Howard to Luke Stocker. Admittedly, Jameis's ball placement on some of those throws could have been better, but if you hit a big target like that and then get their hand on the ball, they've got to come down with it, especially in red zone. Red zone continues to be a bit vexing for the Bucs. It's one of the concerns coming out of the first 2 preseason games, an area you're going to have to see a lot of focus on in the 3rd game and the 4th game. Once this team gets in scoring position, they've got to convert that into 6 points, not 3. And that's even without the concerns we have about being able to kick field goals. That's just a matter of football. When you have a chance to score a touchdown, you have to score the touchdown. You cannot just take the 3 points and move on and hope that your defense holds up for the day. I did see a lot of action from Lavonte David and Quan Alexander when I was on with Pat Donovan this morning. We talked a little bit about those guys. I don't know how we can say that they're quietly having a good camp because there's nothing quiet about their play. I think that this is a pretty special linebacking core that's being assembled on this team. Secondary, Brent Grimes was out today. You saw a lot of Ryan Smith. Ryan Smith did a good job in general, I thought, in coverage, regardless of who was lined up across from him. Adam Humphries continues to excel. We didn't see enough on specials and things like that to get any feel for what's going to happen. I do think that you're going to see a lot of things in this 3rd preseason game that are going to give us some answers. We talked a little bit beforehand about the wide receiver stack rank. I think you're going to see a lot more opportunities for the Bobo Wilsons, Darrell Walkers, Reedies, Martinos of the camp to get a chance to show that they can actually produce when they're getting more than 3 or 4 reps in a game. Now, you guys know that I was a Bobo Wilson guy early. He's disappeared. I expect to see more. He's got really good body control, but those first 4 are taken. Talking to Roy Cummings today, and he feels like they're going to keep 5. I think that there's a chance they keep 6. I think Martino has earned a spot on this team by not only what he does in the offensive side of the ball, but also in special teams. The guy is out there tirelessly on special teams, and that's important. It does seem like the team is high on Huff. Joe Dirt, I don't know. Let's see what happens. I think there's an opportunity for him. I think that the team may feel that they can hide Bobo on the practice squad. So we'll see how that goes on the offensive side of the ball. Defensive side of the ball, I think we're going to have to see these games to see the pop and the wrap. The guys that will make this team are going to be guys that are making impact when they have a chance to hit another player. And that's an area where Riley, I think, looks really good. I think that a lot of these guys are going to have a chance to really show up. Wilcox, who's the other guy? McLean. I think McLean is another guy who shines when the contact's live. And I think that we have to see what that looks like against Cleveland and for the last game. Jack Smith, no update. All I heard in the stands today was that the team is just waiting for him to come back. They're going to find out what's going on once they get through the period of time where they have to wait. And then they have a number of options they can make at that point where they want to do. It's the same thing with Ryan Griffin. You let the training staff and the medical staff do their job, and then when the decision points come, you make the call whether you pup them or whether you IR them or whatever you do. There's a lot of rules around that, but I think that the team feels that Jack Smith's coming back. Koetter did mention that they're waiting to see him come back. That doesn't sound like someone who thinks that Jack's not coming back. I don't know what the follow-on surgery was. Apparently it was arthroscopic. You guys know that I'm not a huge fan of seeing speed guys going in for multiple surgeries, but these things have happened. So, one of the things we have to see out of this defensive line is the conversion of that pressure into sacks. Coach talked about it. They practiced all week with Jacksonville, got good pressure, but need to convert those into sacks. He did talk about how on the first 3 third downs, they went into quick sets. In fact, one of them was a 3rd and 17, and they went to a quick slant. That's a win on defense when you're charting that out. If they're going to go to a quick drop and a slant, what they're saying is they're too afraid of the pressure to try and take that out. So that's a good sign. These guys, we talk about all the time, sacks are important. But as Coach said in the post-game press conference, they were talking about Simeon Rice being here, and his 10 sacks a big deal. And he said, well, to you guys it must be. He said, I thought that the point was winning. And it was a really poignant statement. But Coach Koetter is pretty consistent with that focus on winning, which is one of the reasons why I think the fans really enjoy him. After Clint McCoy Baker, who's the last defensive tackle to make the roster? Clint McCoy Baker. I think that a lot of folks are going to say Stevie T. I think that we have to see that live action, because I think there's going to be a little bit less traditional sets. I think we got a guy like Will Golston who can flip to the middle. Who's a defensive tackle and who's a defensive end gets a little bit muddy. Now, it's not muddy at all with a guy like Noah Spence. He's got to be outside. But I think that whether or not we go with one of those real big dudes in the middle, a run stopper, a traditional zero technique, is going to come down to how often they expect to see us run with a 3-man front, and I don't think we have a freaking clue about that at this point. I also think that the guys that are in the running are obscure enough that we don't think that we have to keep them locked down on the roster in order to protect them. So I wish I had a better answer for you. Let's talk about it after we see what we look like on Saturday in that 3rd preseason game, see what the defense suits up like, see what they show. He talked about Coach Koetter in the presser. Now he's talking offensively. He's not talking for Mike Smith, but they were in install 11. They've got one more install before they've got everything put in, and then they work on game plan and polish. I didn't see the kickers kick at all today, to be honest. There was some special teams practice, but I didn't see field goals being kicked. Maybe there's a new approach whereby we don't try and kick, and maybe then they'll just work. I'm just kidding. That's sarcasm. So, at any rate, we will have a big podcast coming up Thursday. I'll have some announcements coming out about that this week. Some big things shaking out for the tailgate. And until then, follow us on Twitter. Our writers are putting out some great content. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Interact with us at What the Buck, and we'll talk to you guys later. Go Bucs.